Hello and welcome, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you the top 10 best arc travel mounts, so let's get straight into it. In at number 10 I've decided to put the Rock Drake, as I find this is actually quite an effective creature for travel if you utilise it on the right maps. Yes, it doesn't fit into every situation where you may want this thing, but to be honest, if you get one and you use it for travel, especially on Aberration, it's like your only choice really on that map without any kind of transfers of things like Bloodstalkers and Maywings and all of that. It is really going to do a lot of good service on that map, and it really does do you some good service on some other maps as well, like Gen 1 2 if you want to bring it over, and especially maps with a lot of things just like big objects everywhere for this creature to hold on to, because it's not particularly great with loads of flat terrain. I wouldn't bring it on the island of course, but still, you can get quite a lot of leeway out of this creature, even in some flatter environments. I'm using it in one here, and I still did get across this place pretty quickly while also recording the B-roll, so it went pretty smoothly in my opinion, and it is definitely a very nice, fast, reasonably great travel mount. There's also got a load of great attacking abilities as well, which just help it along the way. Next up on the list, I've decided to put the Pteranodon, as I really do like this as a general flyer. I think it has a lot going for it, especially considering the level that you actually unlock this thing. It's sort of insane what you can get out of this creature. It's a little bit absurd, to be honest, the level on which this creature is actually unlocked, as you would expect it to be unlocked way later into everything. But honestly, for level 38 saddle, this is one of the best flyers, or just travel mounts in general, that you can get, and I think nothing really else can compete with it, unless you're obviously on Gen 1 and Aberration, where you simply can't use Pteranodons. But you know, we're going to exclude those for the time being, as the majority of maps do allow flyers, and for all of those, which is obviously most of them, you're going to have a very good time with this mount. They're quick and easy to tame. You can simply do it with a bowler. You'll have no issues whatsoever, at least I haven't. The only real difficulty is getting that saddle, as you know, that chitin and keratin can be a little bit of a nuisance to get sometimes, but apart from that, it's totally fine. Continuing on the list, I've decided to put the Crystal Wyvern, as I find this is an effective mount just generally for all of that flying. Yes, you can use normal wyverns as well, but I just prefer the Crystal Wyvern. It's not necessarily that they're better in terms of a travel perspective, but I do vastly prefer the taming of these creatures. It's much easier. You only need to be level 60, which can be simply done with a note run, and then you knock out one of these things to get some primal crystal, and then passive tame one. My favourite is the Blood Crystal Wyvern. Comment down what your favourite is, as I definitely like to know, because you know, we all have a favourite wyvern, I think, at the end of the day, unless you've never used them before, especially in the Crystal Wyverns, I find, because their abilities are just so cool. The Ember Crystal Wyvern is one which is quite highly rated too. It has the same speed, mobility and rubbish turning circle as a normal wyvern, but they are really effective travel mounts, being like some of the fastest flyers in the game. I'm not including gliding abilities into that factor, just straight flying. The wyverns are some of the fastest out there, so they really do deserve this spot in my opinion, as I feel like, you know, they can be used quite effectively for a lot of travel scenarios. Coming up in the number 7 spot is the Snowowl. This is the first glider, quote unquote, apart from the Rock Drake, that we've had on the list. And this is one where I find it is a really effective traveller. It is a basic knockout tame, and you'll have no issues with that whatsoever. You simply need to head over to the snow biome on Extinction, and I think they spawn on Fjorda as well, so if you don't have Extinction, hop over to there, and I think you'll find them on that map. They obviously have that sort of dive bomb ability like the Griffin. The Griffin isn't on this list, but I'll give it a brief honourable mention. You could slot it in the same spot as the Snowowl. They are quite similar when it comes to travelling abilities. It's just the Snowowl is my preferred creature. I find them a little bit easier to tame, and I like some of their other abilities along with it, but obviously they're very quick flyers because of that dive bomb ability. Also feel it's a little bit more fluid than the one that the Griffin's got. That's probably merely a placebo, but we'll go with it. They also do have a kind of heat-seeking UV ability sort of thing, where you can go around and scout out all kinds of just organisms that give off heat. That can be used in whatever scenario you may need to apply it to. It sort of acts as night vision as well in some cases. Then obviously they can heal up creatures. You just need to level up their stamina more if you want to heal those creatures up for longer. If you're wondering why you can't heal creatures up for longer, it's because you need more stamina, so get that stamina cranking, and then you can heal some creatures for serious lengths of time and really get them healed up. It's great if you're just taming something and then its health is really low, like you've been training it for ages. You can simply heal it with one of these things and it's back up to scratch. The Pteranodon can't do that because it can only heal up your own creatures. And obviously Snowowl pellets are going to be extremely useful if you're feeding scratches. You can get some insane loot. Next up, I've decided to put the Aster Delphus, as I find this is a really effective speed mount. If you want to get somewhere really quickly, the Aster Delphus or the Trichognathus, I'm kind of going to tag team them together because they are quite similar as creatures. Then you're going to want one of these two. The Aster Delphus is just my favourite though, so that's why I'm putting it here instead. They can dash across the map with insane speed, and that isn't even accounting for obviously any speed leveling that you may do, because you can't on these things like you can't on all flyers unless you enable it, but you can get some insane speed on these things totally like on official settings, and that is absurd. The only reason why you go for a Tropio, in my opinion, over the Aster Delphus is the taming method is slightly less expensive. The maps that it spawns on tend to be better, and obviously the saddle was unlocked at a way lower level. But apart from that, the Aster Delphus really does take the crown, in my opinion, for just being such a great travel mount. It can travel with such great speed and agility. It really is an effective mount for all of that. It's just like a dog fighter, but in Ark, essentially. In at number 5, I've got to put the Rungatha. This is obviously a very recent addition to Ark, but it really has influenced a lot of great travelling, at least for me, and especially considering you can pick up things like Diplos and Rexes and Parasitotheriums. It's absurd what this creature can really do. It's sort of insane, really. It's like, honestly, mind-boggling from a person like me who's been playing Ark for absolutely ages. It's crazy how the game really progresses. I'm definitely here for it, even though I wasn't really when this creature first came out. It's obviously quite a rare one. You find it on the island and the Lost Island. It's very accessible to all you players out there because obviously it spawns on just the main map of the game. And sadly, it's the swamp biome, makes the swamp biome even more dangerous. But when it comes to speed and agility, the Rungatha really just does have it. It can go with so much give. It's insane, really. You can fly for tremendous distances without really using up any stamina, and their weight is great. You can carry a lot with you, and you can travel with great speed too, which is something which sort of matters at the end of the day. So let's just continue on the list, shall we? Next up, I'm putting the Desmodus. This creature is truly an effective mount. It is a great glider, and it really has done a lot for me in terms of travel. It has the Sanguine Elixir as well, which is an absolute cheat for tames. I started a bit done like that with a click of a button. You'll have no issues whatsoever, or seemingly no issues whatsoever with the taming. You know, you never know what's going to happen. You could just get something like one of those ants just tear your tame to bits and ruin all of its effectiveness. That's annoying. Has that happened to you before? Comment that down below because I want to know. Again, it's got the same gliding ability as the Griffin and the Snowowl. It really is just such a nice thing for a flyer to have, and this really does utilize it very effectively. I like how it uses the gliding ability. It feels very smooth, even smoother than the Snowowl's one, and I do prefer it as a travel mount. They're also only spawn on Fiorda, like I think the Snowowl again does spawn on Fiorda too, but if you are on that map, I would rather go for this creature than the Snowowl. It's just more useful in terms of all of its other abilities for me as a PvE player, and I just prefer its general agility. In at number 3, I've decided to put the RG because this has been here for absolutely ages, and it is a go-to for me. Yes, while maybe not the fastest and most agile mount out there, I have done most of my travelling in Ark with simply this creature and this creature alone. I really do love it. Yes, nostalgia does play into it, but considering it spawns on the island and it is just so effective for metal gathering and more transportation, actually. The Dodic and the Yankees will be doing that, and it can pick those up too. You can also pick up berries, so if ever I was going to a cave, I could just pick a berry of this thing. This is pre-cryopod days, if you are wondering. Now I usually just would cryo up my berry, or soul traps really, because I use that mod instead. Yes, I use mods because I love them. The game is definitely better with them, at least from my perspective. They also can travel very long distances, considering their stamina is great. Their weight is also up to quite a high standard, and I really do like that. And obviously with the weight reduction, it's 50% on things like metal, crystal, and obsidian, which is why they're just such great metal haulers. They also have a portable smithy as a saddle, so you can do anything you do in the smithy in the LG saddle. So if you want to repair your armor after a cave run, let's say, you can, because those pesky autoclers at some point probably are going to get it, and that's something which you really don't want to happen. They also have a nice, neat regen buff too, and I think that really does play into the essence of these creatures just being so versatile, but also great travel mounts. In number 2, I've got to put the Bloodstalker, because for any underwater travel, this is my go-to, and I love it to absolute bits. It is actually insane how much I've been using the Bloodstalker as of late, but also just for general travel on the land as well, it is really effective. You're essentially a living Spider-Man. Its damage is also not to be underestimated. Yes, you're not going to be fighting any bosses with this thing, but you still can kill quite a fair few amount of creatures. They can obviously skate along the top of the water, and you can see all of the aggros of the creatures around you. So if a quick escape is needed, you can always go to the top of the water and skate away at lightning speeds, while also being able to see what creatures are actually aggroed onto you. This helps in a very low visibility environment like the ocean biome. I find that just to be really effective, and it just helps me in a way. Yes, I have the awesome Spyglass mod as well, but I don't need to really press anything for this to happen. It's just instant, and I could leave my awesome Spyglass on all the time, but frankly I wouldn't really want to do that. I only use it when I'm taming things. But obviously then when you hop out of the water, you've still got yourself an absolutely insane travel mount, and then you can be that real Spider-Man energy with you just slinging across the whole map. It's an insane creature for all things travel, and that is basically all I use it for, especially underwater travel. It's my all-time favorite underwater mount, and there is really no competition for this for me. That is my opinion. Let's get into number 1 spot, shall we? And in number 1, I've decided to put the Maywing, as I really do love this creature as a travel mount, and it is unbeaten ever since its release. This has been my go-to travel mount for everything apart from underwater travel. Although this is actually still a very decent underwater mount, and it can skate along the top of the water like the Bloodstalker 2. The Bloodstalker simply does a better job in that regard, but if I quickly need to dip in for something, the Maywing will definitely do the job with absolute ease. The saddle is unlocked at level 18, which is insanely early, so you can be getting these things basically as soon as possible. I think they spawn on Fjorda as well, but I usually go to Gen 2 to tame those things because I have the DLC and I just know they're there. Never tame one on Fjorda, but I think I've heard at some point that they have been on the map. I really am extremely unknowledgeable with Fjorda. Actually, I should probably look up all the creatures that are on that map and then converse with you in future top 10 videos. Either way, these things act as a portable feeding trough too, which is just absurd. It's a really nice ability for them to have. The animation is disturbing, but you know, we'll stick with it. And they can gather berries too, but the main reason why they're such good gliders, because you might say, well, they're just the same as the rock drake really, but you can really get a lot more agility out of these things than the rock drake, and you don't need very, you don't need a big difference in terrain elevation to get these things to actually fly far. But anyway, that is the end of today's video. I really hope that you all did enjoy, as I definitely did enjoy making this one. As always, comment down below what is the best arc travel mount for you, and if you didn't agree with this list, then make sure to put your 10 down below, and I will see you all later.